Hello! I picked up the first 3 issues of Adventureman. Terry Dodson does the pencils and colors on this. Most of it looks great. It looks, beautiful, beautifully rendered. I'm assuming Rachel Dodson is his wife. She inks the book. Matt Fraction is the writer. Man, there's some other people. But anyway, the characters and settings look like those movie serials from the Art Deco era, or maybe the pulp books like Doc Savage, or even something like Flash Gordon. It's done pretty well, but there are some panels where it took me a while to figure out what was going on, such as in the second issue where the main character Claire is being pulled through the wall by essentially a ghost. There are a few panels that where the storytelling isn't very clear. There's a point in the story where you learn Claire has grown 15 inches. I would have never known that if it had been me. I would have put the character in a panel with another character who's maybe the same height, and then later do a similar panel for comparison, and this would be where you reveal that she's grown 1.5 feet. I guess that's what the pinup at the end of the second issue was for, to show that she was larger, but I don't think anyone would have ever gotten that. She's standing there in a pinup pose with her hand in her hair with ripped clothes. I just took it that she'd been in a fight with some robots earlier, and that's why her clothes are ripped, not that she had grown. The titular character is a generic version of one of those movie serial or pulp adventurers, but the central character is a woman named Claire. Adventureman is a character in a book that Claire is reading, even if he is apparently supposed to have really lived. I'm more interested in the flashbacks, even as cliched as they're written, with the generic attack on a city, the generic mayor's hotline, like the bat phone, and the generic way of introducing the pulp characters, with them standing there and their names in front of them. But, I'm more interested with Adventureman and his team than I am about Claire reading books and talking to her multicultural family. The father looks much like the Adventureman character, but older, so that's probably where they're going to go with this. The entire family is completely perfect. They're all just great and super successful, and everyone loves them, and some of them just have the right amount of adversity to overcome, what with the sister with prosthetic limbs and Claire having a hearing problem until she becomes superpowered. And it's pretty obvious, unless this is being cleverly set up as a red herring or something, that Claire's family are all daughters or granddaughters of Adventureman's super entourage. Anyway, I was more interested in Adventureman and Super Team than Claire and her sisters baking souffles and reading books at the library. They're focusing on the wrong story, and a lot of it doesn't really ring true, as when Claire gives a man a blood transfusion while hallucinating, and there's a room full of medics that do nothing to stop her from crawling up and straddling the guy and then putting a tube in his arm. Or when she runs across security robots that use echolocation instead of visual means, and she defeats them because she happens to be deaf and uses a hearing aid. Wasn't there a movie that uses that same idea recently? The villains in this are very non-threatening and inept. The main villain is replaced by his female minion without having really done anything other than doing a short generic villain monologue of sorts. This could have been a big moment, but they never really set the villain up to be any kind of threat anyway. Each issue ends passively, and the dialogue ranges from cliched catchphrases to some really irritating exclamations like, "What the butts?" And Matt Fraction must have really loved that particular line, because he repeats it at least 3 or 4 times in the 3 issues. Mainly, I was just bored by all of this. There are pages and pages of people just sitting around reading or talking about nothing. So there may be a longer story, but as Claire tells her effeminate son in the first issue, some stories just end. So this story is just ending after 3 issues for me. So in short, I thought it was beautifully illustrated by Terry Dodson and his wife, but it has kind of a lazy, boring story to go along with it, and I was more interested in Adventureman, the actual Adventureman, instead of the legacy characters. So that's it. Hope I didn't bore you, and I hope you'll come back for the next one. Thank you for watching and listening. Bye.
gutters with the lake.